In 1929, 97 years ago, the Moto Guzzi Motorcycle Company founded the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club. That was just 8 years after the Moto Guzzi Motorcycle Company itself was founded. The rowing club was founded with the aim of promoting sport and recreation among the employees of the Moto Guzzi factory and the residents of Mandello dell'Ario, where the factory is located. Since then, it has spawned a host of champions, including 10 Olympic medals, 22 European and World Championships, and a host of other Italian awards. The first Olympic gold medal came in 1948 at the London Olympics in the coxless four, that's 4 rowers with no coxswain. All 4 rowers came from the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club. That event was repeated in 1956 in the Melbourne Olympics, this time in the coxed 4, that's 4 rowers with a coxswain. Again, all 4 rowers were from the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club. A bronze medal in the coxed 4 followed just 4 years later in the 1960 Rome Olympics, and again, all 4 rowers from the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club. Most recently, Andrea Panizza, who trains at the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club in Mandello dell'Ario, with his teammates on the Italian national team, won the silver medal at the 2024 Paris Olympics in the quad. That's 4 rowers rowing sculls, which means each rower has 2 oars. In a great continuation of tradition, Andrea Panizza often trains with Giuseppe Moioli, who was one of the 4 rowers who won that first gold medal for Moto Guzzi back in 1948. Even more interestingly, Andrea Panizza, who comes from the small town on the banks of Lake Como, just 500 residents, has always had an interest in motorcycling. Why? Because his grandfather worked for Moto Guzzi his entire life, and his uncle works for Moto Guzzi now. It's a fascinating connection between rowing and motorcycles. So why am I telling you all of this? Because both rowing and motorcycling are good for your health. And cross-training is even better, especially as we get older. We need to maintain our strength, our aerobic conditioning, and our flexibility as we age. According to the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, cross-training is the best way to train and avoid injury because you are training in different sports and getting great conditioning, but using varying muscles so that you don't overstress any one. For older people, including myself at age 73, moderate physical exercise can help you get better sleep, lower your blood pressure, and reduce your risk of dementia, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Moderate exercise also strengthens your bones, improves your balance, and can help reduce any risk of falling, which is very important as we get older. What does moderate intensity mean? It means that your heart rate increases, you will feel warmer, and you will be able to talk, but not sing, is one of the examples that physicians give. Examples of moderate exercise include walking at a brisk pace, pushing a lawnmower, hiking, and riding a bicycle. Even better, of course, is vigorous exercise. What does it mean by vigorous? Well, that means that you are breathing fast and you won't be able to talk except for a few words without pausing for breath. Examples of vigorous exercise include running, swimming, riding a bike fast or uphill, hiking uphill, football, and, wait for it, rowing. We're back to the Moto Guzzi Rowing Club and the connection with motorcycles. Because I, and if you're watching this video, likely you, like to ride motorcycles, it's important that we stay fit so that we can really enjoy riding those motorcycles. MotoGP riders know this and train intensively for their competitions. Their workout routines include cardiovascular training, strength training, and flexibility training. I took up rowing 3 years ago. For the first year, I rode on a rowing machine in my house, and then 2 years ago, I took a Learn to Row class on the water at the river in Oklahoma City, which, by the way, will be the site of the kayaking and speed canoeing events for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. After learning the basics of sculling, which again means rowing with 2 oars, I was hooked. I bought a boat, and I have continued rowing on the river ever since then. I go about 3 times a week and row about an hour each time, which gets me about 8,000 meters of rowing distance. Physicians recommend that everyone get about 150 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous physical exercise every week. So by rowing about 3 hours a week, I'm getting more than my recommended 150 minutes. But that's not all I do. I also do a fast 30-minute walk in the mornings on days that I don't row, and I lift weights about 3 times a week. So all of this is cross-training. And what's the other element in my cross-training routine? Riding my Moto Guzzi V7. I have another video in which I go into this extensively, talking about both the physical and the mental benefits of riding a motorcycle. So here's my challenge to you. Be like Moto Guzzi. Combine motorcycle riding and rowing, both for the physical benefits and for the mental benefits. Stay fit, both for the enjoyment of life and the enjoyment of motorcycles. And towards that end, let me teach you a little bit about rowing. So we're down at the river, and this is the boat. I will show you my coastal rower. There are 2 different types of rowing boats for sculling. Mine is a coastal rower, which I got because it's very stable, very unlikely to turn over. But there are also traditional sculling boats, which are much narrower and pointy on both ends and more unstable. It's fairly easy to tip those over. So let me show you my boat. This is my coastal rower. It's a light boat. It's a company out of France. And you can see there are 2 oars. One is green and one is red. The green one goes on the left as I face the stern of the boat. The right one goes on the right. The red one goes on the right as I face the stern of the boat. And of course, rowing is done backwards. And you can see the front of the boat has a pointy end, and the back of the boat is open. That's to allow water to flow out, because this boat is meant to be used, as the name implies, on the coast or in the ocean or on a lake where you might get water waves into the boat, and then the water can go out the back like that. Coastal rowing is going to be an event in the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics for the first time. Up until now, it's been all regular rowing in the Olympics, but now they're going to have coastal rowing, and specifically 2 events, beach sprints, where 2 people, or 2 boats, I should say, compete at the same time. They leave from the beach. They do kind of a Le Mans racing start. They run to their boats, which are at the edge of the water on the beach. They jump in, they row out, I think 500 meters. They turn around, they row back, and then they race back up the beach to the finish line. That's called beach sprints, and it's just what it sounds like. It's a sprint. Then they also have the longer coastal rowing, where they're rowing up and down the coast for much longer distances. So it'll be interesting to see how those 2 events do in the Olympics for the first time, and how popular they are. Rowing is a little bit like golf, in the sense that the golf swing is at the same time simple, but also complex. For those of you who play golf, you know you have to keep your head down, you have to keep your left arm straight as you start the swing, you have to follow through, you have to actually start the swing with your hips, and then following the club through, and then have a nice follow through, all the time keeping your head down until you've struck the ball. And only then, on the follow through, can you allow your head to come up and see where the ball actually went. So there's a lot to the golf swing. Well, similarly, there are 4 parts to the rowing stroke. There's the catch, which is where the oars dip into the water and catch the water. There's the drive, where you're pushing back with your legs, and then the oars, of course, follow, but you keep your arms straight until the very last second, and only then do you allow your elbows to bend to finish the stroke. There's a saying that when the arms bend, the power ends, because most of the power is in the legs. And then there is the recovery, where you're sliding back forward to the beginning, where you're going to have the catch again. So I will demonstrate all of that as we get onto the water. Here I am in the boat, we're on the water, and first you'll notice that the hands are not side by side. That's because you've got to have room for the oars to pass over each other. And so the left hand, which is holding on to the green colored oar, always passes above the right hand. You keep your thumbs on the end of the oars so that you have a good grip on the oars, but not too tight. You don't want to grip the oars too tightly, but you keep your hands secure, and putting your thumbs on there keeps the oars from bumping up and down against the oarlock and ruining your stroke. So the first part of the stroke is the catch, where we come forward and we turn the oars and just dip the oars into the water a little bit. You don't need to move very much. One of my coaches said, staying horizontal is the key. You don't do a lot of up and down, because it doesn't take very much to get those oars into the water. Then once the oars are in the water, you push with your legs. A lot of people want to pull with their arms, but that's not the idea. You push with your legs, and the arms stay straight until the very end. And then the oars, you turn them, it's called feathering the oars, and push down just a little bit to get the oars out of the water, and then you can come back to the beginning, turn the oars again for another catch. That's the stroke. So you'll see as I row a little bit how that goes. So I'm going to start the stroke now. You may notice that I have put on gloves. That's because the action of working the oars can really cause your skin to peel. A lot of rowers get calluses. I just lose skin, so I have taken to wearing short gloves. These are actually bicycle gloves, but they work really well for rowing. Leaves my fingers open so that I can still grip the oar, but it doesn't tear up my hands like it would otherwise. So I'm going to start the stroke, and you'll see how we go. So the catch, and we drive with the legs, and at the very end, the arms bend. Catch, drive, release, recover. Catch, drive, release, recover. Those are the 4 steps. Catch, drive, release, and recover. Catch, drive, release, and recover. 4 parts to the rowing stroke. And it becomes kind of a meditative activity, so that if you're thinking about the stroke, you're not thinking about anything else, because you have to concentrate on those 4 parts, or you'll begin to get out of sequence, or to bend your arms, or to push with your legs at the different time, or to pull with your arms instead of pushing with your legs. So again, sort of like the golf swing, it's all got to be coordinated to work right. But when it works right, it's great. The boat really flows along. They call it swing. The boat gets into a swing, and it really feels like you're flying on the water a little bit. From this view, you can see that the oars don't come out of the water very much. That's because when I get to the release, I just push down on the oars a little bit just to get them out of the water. And then when I get to the catch, it's just raising the oars a little bit to get the oars into the water. You don't need to bury the oars, just get them into the water so that they have pull. Now I have the camera facing the stern of the boat, the back of the boat, And you can see how it's a very smooth motion when you get the stroke right. And I don't always, by the way. Although I've been rowing on the water for 2 years, I still have to work on it. But when you get the stroke right, the boat really flows along in a nice smooth movement. Got that swing going. So why rowing? Well, rowing certainly falls into the category of vigorous exercise. I can talk, but I have to breathe every few seconds. It's great exercise. It's full body exercise because you have to push with the legs. At the very last second, you pull with the arms. It's good for the back, but it's low impact. So the risk of injury is quite small. And it's an exercise that you can do a long, long time. There are lots of stories of people who started rowing in their 70s, as I did. Started rowing when I was 70. Started rowing on the water when I was 71. And have kept rowing well into their 90s or even past age 100. So it's something you can just keep doing, unlike other types of exercise where after a while it's too much for your body or you just can't do it anymore. Rowing you can do for the rest of your life. Rowing not your thing? Then do whatever exercise floats your boat. But stay fit. None of us are getting any younger, and we need to maintain our physical and mental health if we want to keep on riding motorcycles and keep on enjoying life. Which, come to think of it, is really the same thing, isn't it?